The first episodes in anime are arguably the most important part of a show. They have the massive task of entertaining us and introducing us to a whole new world in 20 minutes with the sole purpose of making us go back and keep watching the show. For an anime to be amazing, it has to have a great first episode. It is like an appetizer, like a foreplay that is promising us an even better meal if we keep watching. But which anime has the best first episode ever? Today we're going to find out. I pulled a list of the best rated anime of all time from my anime list and IMDb, and I merged them just because I didn't want to make this list just Gintama episodes, and it left me with these 10 goated anime. Hajime no Ippo, Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, Frieren, Hunter x Hunter, Cowboy Bebop, Attack on Titan, Death Note, Gintama, Steins Gate, Chainsaw Man, and Demon Slayer.
Huh?
Let's find out which anime has the best first episode ever. Let's begin with our grading system. In order to determine which episode is better, I'll be grading them on two factors: how good it introduces the world, and how much does it make you want to keep watching. Whichever has the highest score by the end will be crowned as the best first episode of all time. Also in this list there are some anime that I've never seen before and some that I have, but I will be as objective as possible. First off, we have Cowboy Bebop. For its first episode, we get quickly flashed with a very mysterious scene in the rain before we get hit with this banger theme song. Then we get introduced to Spike and Jet, two broke bounty hunters in space who are trying to catch a man with a big bounty. But even though they find and fight this man, they don't get the bounty and remain broke. In terms of story progression, this episode barely has anything that affects the overall story of the anime, but that is something that I only know because I've seen the rest of Cowboy Bebop. So being completely objective, I think this episode is mostly great at showing us the tone and the style of this world. They're literally cowboys in space with amazing music playing at all times. I don't think this episode does enough in terms of narrative to hook the audience besides flexing the aesthetic, which is enough to make a lot of people come back, but that is not what we're rating here. So on that mindset, this world is going to get a 5 on world introduction because it doesn't elaborate past cowboys in space, but it's going to get an 8 on making you want to keep watching because the people who do keep watching do it mostly for the style of the show over the story, and that's how it hooks you. Next we have Hajime no Ippo. This is one of the anime that I hadn't seen before, and I was surprised when I saw it rating high on IMDb because I genuinely hadn't heard much from it before. Hajime no Ippo introduces us to an awkward kid that helps his mom on a fishing boat renting business. He doesn't have time to make any friends, so he gets bullied for smelling like the worms they use as bait. They even make fun of him saying that his mom smells even worse than he does, but bro doesn't have the guts to stand up for himself.
Fight back!
Fucking loser kid, I would have been throwing hands regardless. He gets helped by a boxing fighter and then he falls in love with boxing, and that's pretty much the entire episode. Bro never gets revenge for that bully saying his mom stank of worms. At least not in episode 1. This episode had a very cute old anime vibe, but it was honestly pretty disappointing not being able to see bro improve a little bit within episode 1. I am mostly judging this episode like all the other episodes of the shonen genre like Naruto or Haikyuu, and in my opinion it's lacking a little bit of development. But I know that if the show is rated that good, it must be for a reason. So I'm going to rate this first episode an 8 for introducing the world because in those 20 minutes I understood bro's struggle and really wanted to see him beat someone up real bad. But I'll give it a 6 on making me want to keep watching because I low-key only care about him beating the bully up and not anything else after that. Talking about shonen anime, we now have Hunter x Hunter. This episode introduces us to a world full of wonder and mystery. We meet Gon, who is a really cute kid that his dad abandoned to be a hunter. So he wants to be a hunter too because he assumes it must be too fire if you can abandon your family for it. Bro is hard coping. He sails away from his little island to take the hunter exam and meets Leorio and Kurapika, who have their own reasons to want to become hunters. A big storm hits and they work together to save a guy, and that's it. Will they become hunters? Keep watching to find out. Now, I know that there's not a lot that I have to say to express how goated Hunter x Hunter is, but I also genuinely think this is one of the best first episodes in shonen. I'll give it a 10 for world building because there is so much mystery around what it takes to be a hunter and how the exams work, and that is all just very intriguing. And I'll give it a 7 for wanting to keep watching because it does introduce pretty charming characters that you want to see succeed in this exam, even if nothing super exciting has been shown yet. Next up, we have Demon Slayer, and I only added it to this list because it was rated really high on IMDb, but I genuinely don't think that it is on par with the other anime on this video. We meet Tanjiro, a humble kid that lives on a mountain with his family. He goes down the mountain to sell some wood, just to buy his siblings gifts for Christmas, but when bro comes back, his entire family had been killed by demons, which is pretty sad, I guess. But no, his younger sister Nezuko is still alive and she turns into a demon too. Suddenly, a demon slayer shows up to kill her because she's a demon, but Tanjiro begs him to spare her and is later left to take care of his sister. Even if I don't love this show, I think the first episode is pretty good at playing the right emotional beats for us to care about bro's family, and like always, the animation hard carries. After watching this for the first time, my subconscious assumed that whatever followed was going to be goated in order to deserve such a high animation budget. So that made me want to keep watching. But I was mistaken. 6 for introduction, 6 for keep watching. Moving forward, we have the anime that everyone is talking about right now. Chainsaw Man. The movie for the Reze arc came out recently and apparently it's amazing, but I have not watched season 1 yet. Still, the first episode was pretty damn good. We meet Denji, a homeless guy who hunts demons to pay off his debt with the Yakuza. His only companion is the cute bait character Pochita, who is a chainsaw demon dog. Both of them go through life together as Denji dreams of having a normal life and being free of debt. Sadly, one day he gets tasked with killing a zombie demon and dies, but luckily, demons in this world can take over human bodies, and Pochita sacrifices himself to bring Denji back to life as a chainsaw man. I think this episode hard counters Demon Slayer because it's not getting carried by great animation, even though it does have that, but it's not trying to compensate for a weak story, at least for the first episode. I'll give it a 6 for world building because we barely spend time with anything outside of Denji's struggles, but I'll give it an 8 for keep watching because I really want to see more cool animation and I want to see Denji have a normal life. Now we move forward to a really weird anime, Steins Gate. I can't even begin to give you a quick recap of this first episode because it's so confusing, but basically it tells the story of a paranoid scientist that runs into a friend and he then gets her a toy from a gachapon machine. Later, he finds a corpse outside of a time machine seminar, and then he sees a satellite crashing into a building. I think. He breaks a TV, and then he gets a phone call from the girl whose corpse he found earlier. What the fuck? Even if I didn't understand pretty much anything from this first episode, it really did make me want to watch episode 2 immediately afterwards to just get an idea of what the fuck was happening. But I couldn't because I had to watch more first episodes. I cannot tell you if Steins Gate is goated or not because I have not watched it, but this first episode really made me interested in whatever this show is. It also has this weirdly off-putting vibe and style that adds to my confusion, and I just feel like I need more answers. I will keep watching Steins Gate. Still, I ended the episode more confused than when I started, so I'll give it a 5 for world building and a 10 for keep watching. Next up, we have last year's GOAT.
Solo leveling.
Last year's GOAT, Frieren, which I also haven't watched, but I have been told by so many people to do so. Episode 1 of Frieren throws us right at the end of a 10-year-long adventure where 4 warriors defeated the Demon King. They come back to the kingdom to celebrate their victory before going on their own. In this group, we meet Frieren, who is an elf, 2 humans, and a dwarf. In this world, elves have significantly longer lifetimes than humans, so after this celebration, we see Frieren go through life and then come back to the kingdom 50 years later to find her old team as elderly men.
Hello there.
When for her, it's been a mere speck of her life. At the end of the episode, Frieren picks up a magic apprentice as a favor to one of her teammates, even though she wished to remain alone. The episode doesn't do a lot of world building when it comes to the setting, but it takes a lot of time exploring interesting characters, feelings, and themes. I don't know how much I'm dying to actually watch episode 2, but I do think that episode 1 does an amazing job of introducing all these complex themes and ideas. So without knowing what else happens in the show, I'll give it a 7 for world building and another 7 for keep watching. Before we continue, I just remembered that The Promised Neverland has one of the actual best first episodes I've ever watched in my life. but I just didn't see it on any other list. But I wanted to make The Promised Neverland an honorable mention for this video. I also wanted to remind you to please like the video and subscribe to keep the channel growing. Thank you so much, and let's continue. Next up, before we begin with the real heavy hitters, we have Gintama. Now, before I recap the story, for some reason episode 1 of Gintama is 1 hour long. But not only that, since episodes 1 and 2 of Gintama are filler, which I am glad that I found out before I actually started watching it, but I do not appreciate the confusion. So episode 3 of Gintama shows us a world where aliens have taken over and samurai have lost their value in society. Regardless of this, a guy named Gin still holds on to his samurai ways and helps a kid save his sister from strip club aliens before taking him in as a samurai apprentice. I think. From what I've heard and from what I saw in this first episode, I can tell that Gintama is mostly an ironic comedy show that breaks the fourth wall and likes playing with all those things. But I do know that there are deeper and more interesting things that come later in the story. Still, on a surface level, I didn't think that this episode was anything that amazing to obtain the first spot today. So I'm just gonna give it a 5 for world building and a 6 for keep watching. Now we have our final 3 anime, which I am sure that they are perceived as arguably the best written anime of all time. But which one has the best first episode? Let's begin with Attack on Titan. There is very little introduction I have to do for this masterpiece. All of humanity is inside a huge system of walls to survive against titans, massive human-like monsters that exist only to eat humans. Eren Yeager is a kid that hates the walls and wishes to be free with his friends, and has a friend called Mikasa who is his certified simp. Sadly, one day a mysterious colossal titan appears and kicks a hole into the wall, letting titans in to eat all humans, including Eren's mother. Now, grading this, of course, is not going to be easy because we all know how goated this show is. But basing myself only on the first episode, I'll give it an 8 for world building because it does do an amazing job at setting up mysteries and hitting those emotional beats of fear and hopelessness. But there is so much more world building done in the next couple episodes that is also crucial to the story. So I'm not gonna give it a 10. But it does get a 10 on keep watching because bro literally saw how his mom got eaten by a titan, and I need to see how bad the crash out is going to be. We move on forward to Death Note, another fucking masterpiece. Light Yagami is a really gifted high school student that is bored with how easy and dull life is. And Ryuk is a Shinigami who is bored with how stale the world of the gods of death is. One day, Ryuk drops his Death Note into the human world, and Light happens to find it. A Death Note is a notebook that lets you kill people by writing down their name and cause of death, but there are some rules to it. Luckily, Light is a freaking egotistical genius and decides that he will use the Death Note to kill all criminals and become the god of the new world. I think this episode is near perfect. But my only gripe is that L gets introduced in episode 2, and that is when we also get introduced to the detective thriller side of the series, which is arguably the thing that makes it so good. Regardless of this first episode is amazing at explaining such an insane idea and making it so interesting. And that's why I'm going to give it a 9 for world building and another 9 for keep watching. I just think the entire L factor is missing to make this a perfect 10. But I also know that it would be impossible to achieve all that in less than 20 minutes. Finally, we have Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood. The show considered to be the best anime of all time, or at least that's what its fandom will never shut up about. But yes, the show is without a doubt a magnum opus, a once-in-a-lifetime experience, goated, peak fiction, whatever you want to call it. Episode 1 introduces us to Edward and Alphonse Elric, 2 brothers who committed a grave sin in the world of alchemy and lost their bodies as a result. At the same time, they work for the government as state alchemists to pursue a retired alchemist who is trying to take down the king. Why is he trying to do this? What did the Elric brothers do? What is alchemy? These are all amazing questions that this first episode sets up while showing us really interesting characters like Roy Mustang, the Elric brothers, or this guy with a very cute family who is always going to be just as happy as we see in the first episode. There is no denying that this episode gets a 9 for world building because it not only gives us a good sense of how the world works, but it also crams so many questions in our brains. At the same time, it's going to get an 8 for keep watching. This is because even though it does everything perfect on paper, I feel like this episode is much better upon rewatch than the first time you do watch it. And this might be for several different reasons, but I do remember being more invested by this point in the story in Death Note or Attack on Titan.
You can't keep getting away with it!
Okay, so now that we have our scores, it is finally time to determine which anime has the best first episode of all time. Attack on Titan and Death Note are tied for 18 points, making them the absolute winners of today's video. Even though these two episodes have been crowned as the kings of today's video, my main gripe with them is that the most interesting thing about these shows is revealed in later episodes, being Eren's Titan form and L. But still, I feel like they are so engaging from the very beginning that those things are just layers of quality that you get to enjoy as you keep watching. Maybe the ending for these two shows isn't as perfect or liked as the ending for shows like Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, but I do think that their first episodes are an elite of their own. With that said, please let me know if I missed any other goated first episodes like The Promised Neverland, because like I said, I just pulled these from My Anime List or IMDb. It's been a pleasure having you here as always. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.